The number one enemy of all Magic the Gathering players are just other Magic the Gathering players. Take the Commander Format Panel, for example. Due to the drama closer to the end of 2024 around ban decisions, leading to largely negative community sentiment, we had to hand over power to Wizards of the Coast to now rule the Commander format. But along the same lines, we're going to be talking about Duel Commander, largely popularized recently, especially with its implementation on MTGO. There's been a big fracturing in the rules committee that has been largely player-led. We're going to be going through the drama of what's going on, how this is similar to the other format panels that we already have, and honestly why this is a good example of how Magic players can't have anything nice because of other Magic players. Y'all know I couldn't resist making a video on some good old Magic Twitter drama here, and it's honestly beyond that, but this is where I came across it. So Nicholas Prail here states, statement from the Duel Commander Committee. William Pinod, DocFX, a member of the Duel Commander Committee, unilaterally decided to remove the core members from the official communication channels. The committee does not agree with these actions and will soon recreate its communication spaces. We sincerely apologize to the players for the confusion and uncertainty this situation may have caused. Signed off the Duel Commander Committee, Matthew Tassau, Leo Carbonell, Flavian Pillay, Florian Trott, and Nicholas Prail. Tag Fireshoes retweets are welcome. And so this is the first statement that we get. This is how I came across this, specifically from a quote retweet that we're going to address later in the video here. But this is the first statement. And the reason I'm saying first is, as I kind of alluded to, we got a bit of a fracturing. As I've also mentioned, this is a largely community-led panel. There are no Wizards of the Coast members on here officially, to my knowledge, and Duel Commander has been largely community-driven for a while now. There's a large group of members on here, probably way more so at this point from the actual Commander Rules Committee and with the Pauper Format Panel and anything like that. But with that, if you go through the replies, you realize that fracturing is actually in relation to the Facebook page on Magic Duel Commander. So yes, you're going to have to interact with Mark Zucki a little bit. Enter the metaverse. We're going to look at the, kind of MTG Duel Commander here, where the committee structure resets, and the announcement largely is just kind of talking about how it's a big long summary here, but as we can kind of tell, it's about William kind of DocFX, and so I've kind of made some notes on the side here that I'm referencing. But he's kind of the self-proclaimed leader of the Duel Commander Committee and has removed 8 committee members after years of internal issues. And so that's what this is going over. So now we can see this divide. So you have one side on Twitter talking about how William removed them, but then William's talking about how he did it because of internal issues. Players, nothing's affected here in terms of the upcoming events and next scheduled updates still for November 21st, but there's years of internal misconduct. There's this led to a breakdown in trust and collaboration. Williams been apparently putting in a lot of effort into it, kind of built the rules, website, Discord, social channels, over $1,000 into it in terms of effort, and just kind of saying that these people that he removed should not be trusted as well, and just kind of requests no online harassment and warns that harassment is subject to legal consequences or whatever. Okay, no one's sending the Pinkertons after you, but I hope I don't get sued for just covering this. But really what this is kind of talking about is the fact that we have a community-led panel for a format that has a sizable amount of players. There are a non-zero amount of Duel Commander players out there because it is a 1v1 format of Commander. And it's very popular. Again, you can run Duel Commander queues on Magic Online. There is a metagame breakdown for Duel Commander. So again, it is popular. And with that in mind, we now have a perfect example of a fracturing of what people would want from other formats at this moment. We have the Pauper Format Panel, which has been largely successful. People have asked for this for other panels to also quote the relative success and, more so the recent drama of the Commander Format Panel, but they've wanted that. And now you see in the Duel Commander situation how it leads to this level of confusion. Now, who do you follow? Do you follow the Facebook group that you've been largely following for a while, and the Discord pages and the communication channels where you've been getting all your information from? But now a large group of people have been kicked out, and now they're talking about on Twitter how they're going to recreate the communication channels. Who do you trust? What's the actual behind the scenes here? Because we have this big breakdown from William. I'm more inclined to honestly believe William's statement. I have no stake in the game. I don't play Duel Commander. And I'm just seeing a bunch of random people on Twitter with no real backing to it, just saying, hey, we got kicked out, we're going to recreate things. But I don't have any context from you. Why would I believe you? I have this context, but maybe William's actually the bad guy. I don't really know. I just have more information, and based on community goodwill towards certain members or not, people are just going to have to make subjective judgment calls as to what they're now going to follow. This is an insane mess. This is an absolute crazy example of, again, how community-led formats and panels lead to just eventual breakdown in structure and actual cohesiveness. And it just makes me sad, because community panels is something I even push for. I made a video on it, how maybe Legacy should have a format panel, and kind of that was a recent topic of discussion, and how there are certain members of the Legacy community that could go about making themselves leaders of it. And even those said people, which we're going to go over in a second, don't want to be members of it because you lead to crap like this. You know, how do you manage this? How do you manage the opinions of hundreds of potentially thousands of people, right? And with such strong opinions, with so many different, diverse backgrounds in their histories, and especially when you touch an eternal format like this, where you have people that may have more recently got in, but they have that attachment to cards that are so old, so powerful. You know, when you have so many invested people in said formats and you make drastic changes like what happened with Commander, we can see where the fallout goes. And in that case, I believe there was a positive outcome with the Commander Rules Committee and where it changed over. I don't think, again, we should be, I've said this in plenty of videos, that we should be unbanning Dockside Extortionist and Jewel Lotus and Mana Crypt. And ultimately the death threats that many of you want proof of, you're never going to get it, because I believe some people made it, the things changed over. And in this case, Duel Commander is not going over to one, it's not a big enough format for that, which is actually kind of crazy, because again, it has MTGO backing and a metagame breakdown. There's whole controversies of how you can play a Duel Commander Deadpool in paper, but you can't play it online. And so the Duel Commander metagame online is actually split from the paper versus that. So it's actually just so many problems with this format on top of that. But alongside that, we have, as I mentioned, positive examples. The Pauper format panel is the one that they like people always quote when it comes to format panels. I will always quote them, because as an avid Pauper player, the Pauper format panel is one of the most positive parts about Magic the Gathering and 1v1 60 card Magic. It is one of the most, if not the most successful implementation of an external body to manage a format. The more successful, in my opinion, than the Commander format panel. Gavin Verhey gets his own, alongside his panel, own BNR announcements. He makes his own articles because he's so passionate about it. Their own videos get published. Like, this is a very passionate team that tests, that plays, that talks to the community, that plays with the community, and engages in data-driven along with kind of community-driven sentiment to guide decisions. It is such a great melting pot to create and curate one of the best, if not the best format currently in Magic the Gathering, at least in a 1v1 60 card sense. The gameplay is amazing and is unrivaled due to the curation of a format panel like this. But on the other hand, we have the other bad examples of the Commander format panel, right? And so this is where you get into this whole idea of, where is it? So I said introducing Pauper format and the Commander format panel, where if you kind of head down here, like with the controversy of the death threats itself and the idea of, kind of those crazy valuable cards being banned out and people losing all this value because Magic the Gathering is now a stock trading portfolio and everyone is going to be Rudy from Alpha Investments or whatever. You have these members of the format panel that are actively, in many ways, a lot of them making money from Commander specifically, right? They're not kind of separate entities, right? Specifically, you think of the Josh Lee Kwais of the world, the Olivia Gobert Hicks, Rachel Weeks, those are just like maybe some of the more common ones that you know, but like many of these other people, such as, Rebel Lily and, Attack on Cardboard, like you're probably very familiar with, as well as other creators and just members of the space. And so these are people that have active investment in the curation of the Commander format panel. And although they may have the ability to criticize objectively in some scenarios, a lot of people would argue because you have an active involvement in the panel, in the success of the Commander format, you will a lot of people argue, curate the panel subjectively. You have your own experience in it. You are not a necessarily separate body that isn't tied to the money making of it. At least when it came to the Pauper format panel, it is led by Gavin Verhey of Wizards of the Coast, who obviously has that active involvement of making money because he wants to, you know, see a format panel like this succeed, because then that would mean Magic the Gathering succeeds. But he's not specifically a Pauper content creator. He is an employee of Wizards of the Coast that is passionate about Pauper. And now the other members of that community also have that type of kind of piece about them. But specifically now with Gavin Verhey, I think a lot of people are very critical of these members because of how the previous RC has worked and how they're now being managed. Like, honestly, this is a lot on Gavin's plate. This is a lot on Gavin's plate to now manage this amongst everything. And I think like the general sentiment of the Commander format panel has been largely positive so far. They don't want to make sweeping changes. They went through testing. I think the bracket system is one of the best things that they could have come up with. The vagueness is so important, and the kind of condensed structure is so much better than pick 10. Where this falls apart is when it comes to in between, right? And it comes from this quote retweet. This is where I kind of came about this. So with Nicholas Prale's kind of announcement, Bosch and Roll kind of pointed out, you know, this quote tweet isn't to dunk on Saffron Olive, just to answer the question that Saffron Olive tweeted out. I talked about this in a previous video. I'm curious, if you are a legacy or vintage player, what does Wizards actually do for you at this point? Why doesn't the community take over the format, make its own ban list, allow some number of proxies, and go from there? He also responds further, there aren't really qualifiers anymore for those formats, right? Maybe outside of some MTGO stuff on rare occasions. Does events being sanctioned actually offer any upside? And so for Eternal formats, for many of you that play Eternal formats, you are aware of things like for Pauper, you're thinking of like Paupergeddon, and primarily Eternal Weekend for all Eternal format players, right? There's going to be Pauper events at Eternal Weekend, but the primary events all across the world, depending on the format, you know, now there's the whole idea of like, you know, there's Legacy on one day, Vintage on the other day, but the American one is going to be like a 2-day Legacy, 2-day Vintage, whatever. But it's Vintage and Legacy are the primary formats. And so those are your like Magic Worlds, your big culmination events to go play these Eternal formats. That is the big draw of something like that. And especially here, subjectively, I think Legacy is in a great place because I'm lucky to be in a big city here in Toronto, Ontario, where we have Legacy of the North and a great community-driven effort to actually go play Legacy. There are so many local game stores that run these Legacy events in partnership with this like kind of community-led group that has a Discord, Facebook page, all this stuff, and a website. And every day of the week, as far as I'm aware, every day of the week, there is at least 1 to 2 places that you can go play Legacy, and at least somewhere in the range of 8 to 20 people will be there. If you're going to like face-to-face games on Friday for Legacy FNM, you're getting like literally 20 to 30 people. Pricing for 4.0 is like $75 at $10 pay-in. Like that's pretty damn good for Legacy FNM, by the way. And for face-to-face games, they're not allowing proxies, but other LGSs are. Like if I go to Anime, oh, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, it's such a great store up in Vaughan here. But if I go there, they're allowing proxies. And so stuff like that is like pretty chill. There's great, like you can go play reserve list cards and enjoy a community like that. And so what, like Saffron Olive asking, what does Wizards actually do for you? Why doesn't the community format take over? Well, this is why. Because you get a fracturing of the format, and Bosch and Roll, as I was kind of alluding to, Brian Cook, Thraben Yu, these big content creators, pillars of the community in terms of Legacy and Eternal format in general, have talked about how they don't want to do this specifically because of this. And this is actually just further vindicating their opinion, because before they were just talking about how, oh yeah, you know, look at what happened to the Commander format panel. Yeah, Pauper format panel exists, but I don't want death threats. You know, I got a family and everything. This is just further vindicating them, right? Like in the sense of, yeah, these people aren't getting death threats, but now it's a fractured mess. It is a complicated, fractured mess. People are misinformed. They're confused as to where this goes. Brian even says here, for fuck's sake, this is Duel Commander RC, a massively popular competitive 1v1 format. I have no interest in casual Commander ban philosophy on my timeline. You know what I mean? Like, Saffron Olive even further response here saying, yeah, I might be too optimistic thinking everyone could just get along for the betterment of the game, but this shows that's probably not likely. Brian, great sense of humor talking about everyone wants their own format with blackjack and hookers, but then you realize management is preoccupied with blackjack and hookers because if everyone wants it, then everyone's managing it. Like, you get the point, okay? We can't have format panels. We can't have curation. We can't have clear directions because of other Magic players, because people can't behave. Just like with many things in life, we can't have things in life because there always are bad actors. There's always the bad actors. They're always ruining the fun. They're pissing on your poo-poo. They're poo-pooing on your pee-pee, all that type of stuff. Right. And actually, you know, shout out to everyone watching this video right now. If you're this far in the video, please let me know about the validity of this statement. This is actually hilarious because I have no real context for this. But Brian says, did you know that the number of strip mines you can play in old school? So as far as I'm aware, like old school is what he's referring to, at least, is a Magic the Gathering format that only allows 93, 94 cards, like literally cards from 1993 and 1994. I could be wrong, but that's as far as I'm aware. Right. And changes based on what country you're in, the number of strip mines. So I believe what he's referring to is maybe it's restricted in one and unrestricted in the other, right? This shit always is the ticking time bomb behind any community run format. And like, I don't know. I would love it if someone could confirm this. This is actually hilarious and even more fuel to the fire. Like, this is why I don't like closed loop formats. Like, I don't like pre-modern. I don't like old school. Like, I don't like these solid formats. I want change. I want evolution. I want things to happen. I don't want to just deal with, like, you know, the metagame evolving because this tournament had this many of this deck and then this tournament. No. I don't want that. And I guess it's cool for some people because you get into a deck and you play it, but like, where are you playing that? Where are you playing that? You know, great. I'm happy you have your 8-person local, but whatever. Like, this isn't a sanctioned format. You're not playing this anywhere. You know, I can't go to Eternal Weekend and run a big event and win duels off of it. I can't go play a modern RCQ. I can't go, you know, win events in standard. You know, now Pioneer's friggin' dead, right? Like, formats are dying. Like officially sanctioned formats aren't getting the support they need. I think we can focus on some other things, right? But maybe that's a discussion between like the idea of universes beyond and all that stuff, which is kind of the appeal of pre-modern and old school. Like, you don't have all this busted stuff involved. Like, you don't have fire design specifically in like old school. You don't have universes beyond in pre-modern and all that stuff. There's even pure modern. That's you know, no universes beyond or no kind of horizon sets. And that's like a really interesting format as well. Like, there is interest in these formats, but there also is the idea that I was alluding to in videos that I made this past week, that there might be too many formats in Magic the Gathering at this point. So maybe we need to hone in a little bit. And instead of trying to do all this stuff, we can start to see how things kind of fracture out. The last thing I want to talk about here is kind of an example of people are just largely misinformed. My question now is, why can Pauper have its own RC without major issues? First of all, because it's kind of Wizard backed here. I know the technical answer is both Gavin and Pauper is not a sanctioned format. Pauper is a sanctioned format. I don't know what we're talking about. This like actually is like actually wrong. But those answer why Legacy has no RC rather than why can't Legacy have one. Legacy can't have one because of the reserve list. That's it. Wizards does not want to actively support a format that is managed by the reserve list. They don't want to address that problem. It is better they do not make big events like this, like RCQs and Pro Tours and all that stuff, because of the reserve list. It is better to power creep these cards and or avoid them altogether without addressing the secondary market and all that stuff and not give it. Pauper, though, I don't know why. It actually is a sanctioned format, and Gavin Verhey is a G. Okay, because of all of this, we actually can have things in Pauper. No one knows why we can't have this stuff in Pauper, because people are freaking elitists. They don't want to play with commons for some reason. Right? They're freaking elitists. Like, I'm sorry, newsflash, Pauper has better gameplay. I've been saying this in so many videos. I'm going to say it for the 50th freaking time. Pauper is better gameplay than Standard, better than Pioneer, half the time, if not majority of the time, better than Modern. Okay? Pauper has better gameplay on average than your favorite 1v1 format. Why aren't you playing it? Because you're dumb. Okay, I'm being a little facetious here, but like, yes, you know, you may not have the local community for it, which I would say, you know, go out and build it. Maybe you don't have access to Magic Online or something, which, I mean, it's relatively cheap. If you're playing Magic the Gathering, maybe if you're like Commander only and you're proxying, like that can be another argument for it. But if you have some amount of disposable income, you probably have the resources to go play Magic Online and try out Pauper, right? Saying, oh, I don't like the visuals, like doesn't mean anything, right? Like, do you want to have fun or not? Right? Let's be honest, like, get over yourself. Do you want to have fun or not? I can understand certain explanations, but like just saying like, oh, I don't like the look of it. Just get over it. Just get over it. Okay, we can do it. Hold my hand. We can do this together. We can have fun playing Magic the Gathering together. We can choose to not be the players that yuck everyone else's yum. Okay. I just wanted to bring this up because it's an example of like how, you know, kind of miscommunication and everything. Like, like literally Pauper is a sanctioned format. No one knows why we don't get the support for it. But yeah, just again, it is, in my opinion, largely because we don't want to be addressing the reserve list. So at this point, a great video highlighting why, as with another example, why we can't have nice things. Magic the Gathering players can have fun because of other Magic the Gathering players. We have people's egos involved, you know, personal issues, just years of negative sentiment all coming to a boiling point, and just coming to this culmination of another community, another format fracturing because of a format panel. And this is why Legacy has to just take a different direction. We just have to trust the ban committee with Legacy and Vintage. We're not going to be getting what we have for Pauper with any other community. Commander is just going to be where it's at right now. You will never get Jewel Lotus and kind of Mana Crypt and Dockside Extortionist, or not anytime soon, not for the next couple of years, in my opinion. And this is just the state of Magic at this one. It's kind of really unfortunate how we hold each other back in that sense, and how there's just like so many terrible people that are just like out there calling Commander players pigs and telling them they eat slop. But it's not the Commander players' fault, though. We don't know that, you know, like we as 60 card players are too angry, and we have so many strong opinions, and our formats need to be managed. But when they're managed, things break apart. Folks, what do we do? What do we do? We just got to be better as community members, I guess, or whatever. I don't really have a solution. This is just a video highlighting why we can't have nice things. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Were you a Duel Commander player? How do you feel about this? Like, do you have some missing information that I did not find here, or I did not present here, that is maybe leading to the idea of like this side over another side? I'd love to hear more. This is a format that I've always thought about trying out and everything, but I play too many formats. It's so hard to like keep your head into everything. I play a variety of different formats to make sure I can spread myself on Magic and just keep me sane and keep me happy. If I'm too invested in one format, I just get very, very frustrated with like the state of it. So when I just like play a little bit of each format, a little bit, like I get my experience, I know what's going on, I know the metagame roughly, I can make like general commentary and decisions on deck lists and how gameplay goes, and that makes me happy. I don't need to be like super in-depth and a grinder, but I can enjoy Magic the way I do, and I can confidently say that I am enjoying Magic the Gathering. It just looks like other people aren't. And honestly, it's just a really sad state of things.